being
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Good Old Hockey Podcast. These are two Americans talking. Before anyone gets further in the video, just know our biases. You know, if you're a returning listener, you know where we stand. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you're Canadian, you're not going to like this episode because you got dummied by the U.S. But we'll get into that later. Overall, before we actually get into any of these teams, let's just talk about how awesome this tournament is. Because I've seen so much on the internet, whether it's fellow hockey fans or new hockey fans, talking about just how the NHL did this so perfectly in place of the All-Star game. Because I don't know if I didn't even watch the NBA All-Star game, but those that did and I saw highlights, that's a shit show. The All-Star game for the NHL wasn't any better, I don't think. I liked hockey better, so that's why I would watch it. But other than that, like, it was kind of it's just a pointless weekend. It's cool for the players ish, the fans. I would never pay to go to an All-Star game unless it was in Boise, Idaho, because we're here.
Well, even when I still lived in San Jose, I didn't go to the All-Star game there in 2019.
And that was before COVID too. So
yep.
I was thinking the one in San Jose was COVID time, but yeah. This tournament has been so fun to watch. Like night one, Canada versus Sweden on Wednesday. We got a crazy back and forth game, a comeback game for Sweden, really. Got them into overtime, and then just an electric game all around. And even the next night, I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this tournament compared to just All-Star?
I think it's been absolutely fantastic. You have people who don't watch hockey talking about hockey. Yeah. And I think that's going to happen anytime, like we talked about last week, anytime the United States is playing in any sort of sport.
Yeah.
And they're competitive, you're going to see people who don't give a shit talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that game against Canada really showcased the sport of hockey as a whole, right? It was a close game. It was competitive. Guys were beating the hell out of each other. You saw some sweet goals. Connor McDavid's backhander was gross. Like it just kind of showed off the sport.
Yeah.
Way better than any All-Star game ever could.
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like, even though the NBA All-Star game was going on this weekend, I feel like that game was the focal point of sports this weekend.
Yeah. I think it was like dunk contest on Saturday. And I think it was I think they did it smart where they kind of split it. Like, I think the dunk contest was earlier in the day. Actually, that might have been on Friday. I don't know. I didn't pay attention, but I was locked in on the game. Even the morning game, I mean, Sweden and Finland. We'll talk about those two teams first. So we're going to get into all the teams and, their performance. We're going to save Canada and the U.S. for last because that's the juiciest, and we're going to build up to that. So first things first, in last place, we're recording this right after the Sweden and USA game, which does not matter for us, so don't come at any Americans for losing to Sweden. We had half the roster out. Shut the fuck up. Now, Finland as a team, I was actually very surprised by them. They put on a really good tournament. I think, their first game against the U.S., they kept it close for the first two periods. I was a little nervous. I wasn't super nervous, but I was like, okay, the U.S. needs to figure this out because, again, like you've said a millions of times, the skill gap in the NHL is not that far apart. Just because it's Team Finland and there's no, like, quote-unquote superstar, which isn't true because they have Mika Rantanen, but they're not stacked with quote-unquote superstars like the U.S. and Canada maybe. It does not mean that this is an uncompetitive team. Even Finland today had a chance. They beat Sweden. They had a chance with Canada. It was close. Both of those teams are really one game away from making the final. Both Sweden
literally they were. There's an opportunity. The U.S. locked in on Saturday against Canada to the final, but Sweden, Finland, and Canada could have made it to the final with them today.
Oh yeah.
On the last day of the round robin of the tournament. So I think that kind of shows how competitive it was. every team won a game. I think that was also a huge thing.
Yep.
Finland beat Sweden, and Sweden beat the U.S. today. Now, if the U.S. wasn't already locked into that championship, would it have been a different game? I think so. But it is still cool to see that every team won a game. Samuel Ersson played fantastic today, still on his head. And Sweden won a great hockey game. Finland beat Sweden in a great hockey game. Canada obviously beat both Sweden and Finland.
But not the Americans.
Great games, not the Americans. We'll get to that later. Yeah. Spoiler alert. I told you so.
Yeah. Who could have seen it coming? This guy saw it coming, or this guy.
He saw it coming. But we
both been pumping it. Okay. I want to save the.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It's been a great tournament. I think there's pros for the 4 teams that were in this tournament. Obviously, this is going into next year's Olympics. It's a little bit of practice, like warm up. I think the rosters are going to be fairly similar in the Olympics than they were to this tournament. I have a feeling Logan Thompson will be in net for Canada in 2026, not Jordan Binnington, which we'll also get to later. But for the most part, it kind of seemed like a trial run for these 4 teams. And I think there were definitely some great takeaways. Teams like Germany are going to be in the Olympics, which if Finland plays them, they're going to absolutely whop them. Like, it's not going to be close.
I know Finland's getting hate, but it's like in the Olympics, they're going to be a great team.
I remember on the broadcast, what game was that? I think it was the U.S. Finland game. On the broadcast, the announcers were talking about like how Finland's getting hate and they're the underdogs in this tournament. It's like, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, they're the 5th best hockey nation in the world on any given day, maybe 4th. They might be better than Sweden after this tournament. Right? There's no reason for them to get hate. Just because you're playing 3 hockey powerhouses does not mean that you're not a extremely great hockey nation. And I think Finland has been producing great hockey talent for years. So
they have.
I think they'll be competitive at the Olympics.
Yeah. No, they're definitely going to be. I mean, all 4, like we said, these 4 teams are great teams. It's not, we looked at it and we both had said, Finland's the weakest of the 4. They finished in last, so we weren't wrong there. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is still a great team, and the U.S. pumped them 6-1, which honestly, I think that game just kind of got away from them in the third period. For them, the game against Sweden, I mean, they played fantastic hockey. It was competitive. Even today against Canada, I didn't get to watch a lot of it against Canada. I was at work, but they're showing replay right now. But they definitely had a chance to come back in that. Captain Crosby did his thing, stopped them from pushing it to overtime. And if they did, this tournament would have a whole it would have been crazy if they went to overtime, because that game tonight would have really meant something.
So I was at work today too. I watched a little bit of the first and second period. Saw Nathan McKinnon's goal. There was apparently a real bad icing non-call on Canada with like 45 seconds left in the game or something, that on the very next play, Crosby scored his empty netter. Which I thought was pretty interesting. You can't say, Finland's scoring a goal if they call that icing. You can't say that. But at the same time, it could completely change the course of that game. Yeah. Binner had an absolute shitter of a third period. Shocker. You bring in a bad goalie to be your best goalie when you have like better options. Shocker. It might bite you in the ass, but I just find it pretty interesting. Finland, I think, put up a great tournament. Like, there's nothing to hate about. You came in with the expectations you were going to be last, and you sneak away with a win
against a rival country,
and you sneak away with a close game against Canada. Like, there's nothing to hang their heads about. Finnish hockey fans. I have a buddy named Oscar Castron. Not sure if he's going to be watching this, but you guys can hold your heads high.
Yeah. No, it was a good overall tournament from them. And yeah, I think next year these rosters are going to change just because of. I'm sure Bedard will play in the Olympics for Canada. Cole, like I'm sure there's going to be some changes. Players that aren't hurt that are going to play. So yeah, overall Finland, great job. You finished fourth, like we said you would, but you definitely. I didn't think they were going to beat Sweden. I'll tell you that. And they put on a great game in overtime too. Mikael Granlund, former Shark, with a great snipe in the last first couple minutes of overtime. So that was a really fun game to watch.
Granlund was like tied for the tournament league in goals, I think.
Yeah, he had I think he had 2 this morning
He had 2 this morning. Canada. He had 3 overall, which is tied with Gensel and Nate Mack for first in the tournament.
So yeah, Finland, good stuff. Sweden. I didn't watch too much of this game today. Again, as a USA fan, it was fun to watch, but I wasn't paying attention as much because we got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
But Sweden overall, I mean, that first game against Canada was the true showing because everyone kind of had written it off because it's Canada, and they're like, "Oh, game over!" Like, here we go. Like Canada's going to win it all, and then Sweden comes creeping back. To your point, Jordan Binnington is a mediocre goalie at best, and he's not 2019 Binnington, and everyone thinks, every Canadian thinks that he's 2019 Binnington, which I'm sure if he turns that on against the US on Thursday, like, yeah, we might have a problem, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. But yeah, Sweden as a whole, that game, I mean, what an effort, what a comeback. And then, just get unlucky with somehow Mitch Marner, who we were making fun of last week for not being a gamer, comes out and decides to be a gamer and just scores the OT on kind of, I mean, I don't know.
What did play?
Yeah. Like that shot was just not.
Crosby went in, passed it back, and then was almost offsides.
Yeah.
And he streaked in the zone, just took a wicked shot from above the top of the circles.
Yeah. And who's in net?
Beat, Philip Gustafsson.
Oh, wait. I was thinking of
Sweden.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Saros for some reason.
No. That's Finland.
On Finland. Yeah. I was going to make fun of Saros for there. But yeah, I mean, Philip Gustafsson also played lights out.
No, he did. He had a great game.
Yeah.
I think this tournament was just really tough for Sweden and Finland.
Yeah.
You're playing the 2 best hockey nations on earth, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have a huge rivalry game with your biggest rival country.
Yeah.
Like that, neither of them had an easy schedule. No team in this tournament had an easy schedule, but I feel like the schedule was harder for Finland and Sweden.
Yeah.
Even though they played the same teams, it's like they did not get a night off. Whereas, like if you look at it, the U.S. and Canada should have, but kind of got a night off against Finland, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. had 2 nights off because this game today against Sweden did not matter at all, right? So they could have lost that game 10-0. It did not matter. No. And then Finland was bound to lose to the U.S. And Canada is the same thing, even though Canada had 2 real tight games that should not have been as tight.
Yeah.
But I called that, so I'm not complaining about it. It was just a tough setup for Finland and Sweden, to be honest. You're playing.
No, I agree.
The other thing, Canada and the U.S. both had home games in this tournament with home fans watching and cheering, right?
Yeah, like a full stadium. Like,
maybe if these tournaments are held in Helsinki and I don't know what Stockholm, like games might have been different. I think that could affect a lot. But they're held in the U.S. and Canada.
It's the NHL that is played in the North American states. So
you're playing away games pretty much no matter what. Yeah. And that's a lot for an international team, right? You come into Boston and play the U.S. That's not good, even though Sweden won. You go into Montreal and play Canada. That's not good for you.
No. Especially night 1. Night 1 of Four Nations is in Canada, and you're playing Canada. Like that was just
Montreal.
That was just destined for Sweden to be the underdogs.
And
in that game.
game was fantastic too.
I
was on the edge of my seat. Obviously, being an American and making some claims that I did, I really wanted to see Canada lose that game.
So did
I was on the edge of my seat in overtime.
Yeah.
I was nervous.
Yeah, I was happy with the overtime finish for that team because, it just shows how, I don't know, I guess, just how competitive it was. And that game, super electric. Sweden playing against the US. I mean, I think, like we said, the US had half their stars out due to injury or resting. Yeah, throwaway game for them. Like you said, I don't think that happens if this game means something a little bit more.
Two
especially
weird
if the
US
US. Yeah, and it's
just Ottinger. They were just kind of weird goals.
Yeah, Ottinger also has not played in
2 weeks.
A couple weeks, almost 2 weeks now. So he's out of his mojo. But yeah, it was just overall like it's hard to really judge them based off that game because it just didn't feel like that competitive, especially from the US.
It's really hard to judge Sweden too. At least in my opinion, because it's like the guys who were on the ice were trying pretty hard. There were big bodies being thrown.
Yeah.
But like the US was not playing tonight like they were playing against Canada on Saturday. So I think it would have been interesting to see if this was like a, make or break kind of situation. What the game would look like. Because I think it would have been more competitive.
Yeah. And USA, like those are, again, two great teams that I think, if you would put us up against them night 1, that'd have been a whole different game. And like, I mean, we can't really go back in time, but I'd love for that to be the case and have Canada play Finland first, or I don't know, just it might have made today a little bit more interesting. Obviously Canada needed to win today, but even then, like they had a hot start. So,
and after that game, because Sweden, up until Canada won, Sweden still had an opportunity to make the final, which is, I think, the coolest part about this tournament and how it ended up working out is like the last day of round robin, every team still had a shot.
Yeah.
So if Canada had lost and Sweden won the game, they're playing in Boston again on Thursday, but didn't work out that way. But either way, great tournament for Sweden. Lost 2 OT games. Both of those games are a bounce away from them being in first in this tournament, which is, I think, the craziest part. Like that game against Finland, there was a crazy bounce that led to Finland's rush where Mikael Granlund scored the game winner.
Yeah.
That very well could have been in the back of Finland's net, and then Sweden is in the championship with the US.
Yeah. And there was, I will say, I'll give Binnington flowers in overtime of that first game. He played a lot better. He stopped some chances that I thought Sweden was going to finish it. It was William Nylander. I'd called it in our group chat. He's going to score. He's going to score. And he had a chance, but Binnington with a great save. So, yeah, it really sucks for them to have 2 overtime losses and just lose like that.
Literally 2 bounces away from they could have been the best team in this tournament.
They could have. They
2 bounces away from it.
Yeah. They had beat Canada, they had beat Finland. That would have put them not above us, but it would have made today's game a lot more competitive.
Yeah. A lot more interesting, but
because then you're battling for. Yeah, US would still be battling probably for a spot, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
I think Canada would have been eliminated already if Sweden had won that game.
True.
The US would have beat, assuming everything plays out the same. Who knows? But
either
way, it doesn't matter. Exactly. Canada and the US in the final. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it.
Sweden.
Great tournament.
I think that's a great omen for the Olympics.
I agree.
I think they've already come out and said Russia is not participating in the Olympics, right?
I don't know. Haven't heard yet.
Or is that IHF? I forget.
Maybe IHF.
I don't know, but it's a good omen for Sweden. I mean, they're the third best team in the world right now without Russia.
Yeah. Like, no, exactly.
If they're going to be super competitive with the U.S., Canada, and Finland, like,
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting Olympics next year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, this Four Nations should just show how hyped this Olympics. Like, this is how excited we are for Four Nations face-off presented by NHL and Enterprise. Yeah. Like, imagine what it's going to be like for the freaking Olympic. Like, it's the Olympics, a gold medal. Like this, I will say, if the U.S. loses on Thursday, this is just a tournament, throwaway tournament. However, if the USA wins, this is a legit tournament.
Yeah.
It all depends on what happens.
This is the most important international tournament ever.
Exactly. And I will say, we'll get to it. Let's do it. Saturday night, primetime hockey. Primetime just sports in general. We have Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That is the time people on the East Coast are at bars, out and about, watching at home, whatever you're doing. You've got the hockey game turned on. The puck drops. Matthew Tkachuk drops the gloves. Second one in the game. Him and Brandon Hagel go at it toe-to-toe. And then another face-off happens. And fucking Brady Tkachuk then drops the gloves and starts beating on Sam Bennett. He won that fight. Even like with fights, I don't really care about who wins in a fight. Yeah. Truthfully, unless you get dummied like JT Miller punching himself in the face. Does like... And even then, I give JT Miller credit because...
Oh, hell yeah. He's part of the most memorable start in international hockey history.
Like, it doesn't matter what the outcome is of a fight. That always gets the crowd rock. Like, they were there to send a message. And that's exactly what the U.S. did. Obviously...
beat the wheels off of you. Fuck you.
set the tone physically. They were throwing the body around. And then, of course, the little ketchup freak scores the first goal. Off of Charlie McAvoy did give up that goal pretty bad.
He then continued to absolutely deck McDavid twice later in the game. Fucking put him on his ass.
Exactly. That's where I was going with that. Is that like he gives up a goal, sure. Okay. Like you can't let McDavid get up the ice like that. But I will say,
I think I texted in our group chat. You can't let him do that.
No. It's McDavid. You cannot let him skate by you. Like you keep him outside the dots at all times.
That goal was gross. All props to McDavid. That was kind of a weird broken play as well, where he just, for whatever reason, had the middle of the ice.
Yep.
And you cannot, no matter what, when you're playing Connor McDavid, you cannot let him take the middle of the ice like he did. No. And he's going to put it in the back of your net. But I think McAvoy made up for that, and Hellebuck looked phenomenal in the rest of that game. It was just awesome. Anyways, go on.
Yeah.
Tell me more. I want to hear the story again.
Wait, let me get my PJs on. Can you tell the story again?
Can you please continue talking?
Yeah. So that play, like what I saw out of that, like I remember seeing Jake Gensel's stick shift. He was like forechecking. I saw his stick shift from like this side of his body to the other side of his body.
Yeah.
And the minute he moved it to the other side of his body, I see McDavid cutting up the ice. And I was like, oh my God, here it comes. There's the pass, there's the finish, and Ketchup Man scores again. I saw a tweet where they were like, how do you think McDavid feels when he's looking down in his peripherals? Like, do you think he just thinks of ketchup or like what? The Canadian red.
That's funny.
But yeah, Ketchup Man scores. And if you don't know that reference, you should watch the Amazon documentary about the NHL where Connor McDavid admitted he's afraid of ketchup. That's why we're calling him the Ketchup Man. If you don't know that reference.
Afraid of ketchup is the craziest part of that. Like I can understand not liking ketchup, right? I have my roommate, for example. Shout out Scott if you're listening. I can hear him in the background. He is not a fan of ketchup.
No.
I don't think he's afraid of ketchup. No. Being afraid of ketchup is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, oh my God, Boston. Okay. Hear me out, Boston fan. Like everyone in Boston, just bring some ketchup packets to the game and throw it on the ice.
Throw them on the bench.
Yeah. Throw them on the bench. Yeah. Don't do it on the ice because it'll give us a penalty. But
real quick side note for this championship game. Obviously there was some interesting conversation around this game about how the Canadian fans booed the national anthem. I don't particularly support booing the Canadian national anthem. I think they should let it play. Knowing Boston sports fans, I think they're going to boo the Canadian national anthem.
Yeah.
Fuck Canada. But I just hope it is the loudest Star Spangled Banner singing of all time, with just everybody in the crowd, top of their lungs.
That's the best way to combat that. I don't, like you said, I don't think booing a national anthem is the right thing to do. I did it once as a kid. My dad got mad at me at a Canadian, I forget, the Sharks were playing some Canada team, and I booed the Canadian national anthem. And my dad was, rightfully upset.
I love the Canadian national anthem. Real quick.
I do too. I think a lot of
it's great.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is too. It's definitely got some catchiness to it. Oh.
Anyways,
but now there's a little bit more hatred for the not even hatred. Like at the end of the day, like we're not gonna. I mean, it's not political, but it's just there's other ways to protest whatever's going on internally. And you know the best way. You know what the best way is to, I don't know how you say. Peacefully protest is to win the fucking hockey game, and you didn't do that.
I just find it ridiculous because none of the players have any sort of, no matter who they voted for, none of the players have any sort of connection to our current president saying that he wants to annex Canada, or I don't even think he specifically said that, but any sort of kind of like, I'm forgetting the word, but like none of them have any connection to anything that Donald Trump says. They have no say, no pull, no whatever, right?
No.
You're sitting watching a national sporting event, right? Between two hockey teams that have nothing to do with politics, right? And you're booing the national anthem as protest.
Yeah.
I don't think booing the national anthem is going to change whether or not the president of the United States wants to invade your country. Like it does absolutely nothing for it.
No, so it does
silly.
Nothing. It's just their way of.
But
we're biased, but our
Justin Trudeau never said he wants to make Canada or make the U.S. Canada's 11th province or whatever it is.
He never did say that, but he did do blackface. So we're gonna boo his. We're gonna boo his anthem because Trudeau did blackface.
Fuck that guy.
Exactly. So, anyways. Boston fans, you have your reasoning. You have your reasoning on Thursday to boo that anthem. No, I'm kidding.
I say we sing the American anthem as loud as possible. I'll be singing it from my bar seat, assuming we go to end zone.
Yeah.
That's
the thing.
Right.
I'm just like, you know what? At the end of the day, and here's the thing, like a lot of people are saying like, oh, politics have no reason to, be a part of the sport, blah, blah, blah. Especially Americans are kind of saying that right now, like, and Canadians too, especially in our comments. They're like, it's just not the place for it. Like, we're here to compete, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck was Miracle on Ice about? What was the tension between America? There was the Cold War.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like sports are the way that political tensions, just rivalries between countries, like they're always settled somehow between sports because it's in war. But the friendly way is through
friendly
sports.
Wars.
Friendly wars. No, but like sports is a friendly war. Like those guys don't hate each other.
No,
the U.S. and Canadian hockey players,
with each other.
They play with each other. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of silly to not expect that it's going to come. I said this to you, like, or maybe it was, I don't remember who I said it to, but when this whole thing was going on with the whole, 51st state stuff, which I've been saying for years, he's just copying me now. I didn't actually mean it, but we don't want them. Leave. You guys can have the loony and the toony. Like, I don't want that shit. So, okay. Back to the game. We're not going to get all red, white, and blued on you guys, but that game as a whole, I thought the U.S., the Americans played a very good defensive game.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the casual fan watching hockey, after the first period, it was definitely still electric, but it wasn't as maybe exciting as like a 3-3 or a 4-3 game going to overtime, like something like that.
For sure.
It was only 3 goals scored. Well, I guess 4 if you count the empty netter, but
really all the goals were off like weird miscues too.
Yeah, just shots on net.
Jake Gensel forecheck kind of led to Connor McDavid's rush.
Yep.
I think Jake Gensel's first goal was just kind of weird, fluky, kind of wrist shot. Dylan Larkin's was a weird change.
Yes. Yep.
Canada messed up a weird change.
Yeah, let up a 2-on-1. It's the battle of mistakes. I mean, both the teams played pretty well defensively. I thought the Americans definitely had a lot more opportunities and chances, at least more possession time and like actually controlling the puck. I don't remember what the scoring chances stat was. I'm not an advanced stat nerd, but I do know. I don't know who led that. Is what I'm saying. But
I think the U.S. led in total shots and attempted shots. Canada had a lot more blocked shots, and the scoring opportunities were pretty even, if I remember correctly.
Okay. So I thought the game was so fun to watch. Just true best on best hockey, and watching these guys play with so much intensity, and everyone on the internet, reacted to it as I expected. That, we had football players, baseball, high level figures in the sports world tuning into this game, which is how you're doing something right.
Yeah.
You put that American flag, like you said, you put that on the player's chest, and immediately
Tom Brady's tweeting about it.
Yeah. I don't know if he's ever talked about hockey. Yeah.
I can't remember a time.
No. And I think it was peak was 5 million viewers on ABC in the US.
Yeah.
Which is the highest non-Stanley Cup televised event for hockey in the last couple odd years. So that's awesome to see, the growth of the sport. I think, getting people in the door. And I think Thursday is going to double. And I don't even know double that. It's going to be tough to beat that Saturday night. But it's a rematch. I still think that that's going to be the most watched game outside of a Stanley Cup.
Solely because of how that first game started.
True.
There is hype around it. People know what's happening.
Yep.
People are going to want to see it. I think that this game will look completely different. Obviously, Canada, I believe they should have Cale Makar back in action, which is going to be huge for them.
Their power play, yeah.
Just everything about it. Although I will say, Canada's power play did not look nearly as strong as I thought it would in that game against the U.S. And given they don't have Cale Makar, whoop-de-doo, they still have Josh Morrissey, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL.
Yeah.
Oh, no, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I think that game's going to look a lot different. I don't know what they're going to do goaltending-wise. I don't know if you still run with Jordan Binnington, because
I don't.
After the game against the U.S., he did not look bad. The 2 goals he let up were kind of brutal. Well, the first goal was brutal. The second goal was, you probably won
1. Yeah.
It's like a 2-on-1 far side. You probably won it back, but at the same time, it's not completely your fault.
No.
But then that game against Finland today, I don't know how you start that guy. Letting in 3 goals. They almost blew a 4-0 lead in the third period. I don't know how you start that guy again and not give Aiden Hill or Sam Montembeault a chance. Given you want to, because it's been working, right? They've won 2 or 3 games, but do you really want to risk that and have, even if the U.S.'s offense is significantly better than Finland's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a 3-4-0 lead in the third period, are you going to give the U.S. a chance to get back in it with a goalie who has been kind of shaky late in games? I don't think so. I mean, they gave up a 3-1 lead against Sweden in the first game too.
True,
and that's with their full roster with Cale Makar.
Yeah,
it's just one. I don't know if you run with them. I don't know.
I think they're going to, just based on the fact that they, it was a close game against the U.S. And he's had some shaky moments, but Aiden Hill as your backup or Sam fucking Montembeault Hell no.
I don't know how the hell that guy made the team. Sam Montembeau's a great young goalie, but I don't know how the hell he made the team.
There was,
Logan Thompson, Darcy Kemper, even.
Yeah, true.
Pick a random Canadian goalie. Like, it's probably better than both the guys you picked over Sam Montembeau and Sam Montembeau.
Yeah. No, I was thinking someone else.
There's a lot of guys you could go with. Like
there is, and I think it's just
Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah,
he's
honestly a better younger. Season. Yeah, but
he's your international goalie of the future at this point in time. Like, you might as well take him now. I don't know. I think talking about the future in the Olympics next year, I think that Canada's goaltending situation is going to look wildly different than it is in this tournament. Yeah. I don't think
so too.
Any of these guys are going to be on the Olympic team next year.
No. Could have had Carter Hart, but
Yeah. Shout out to 2018, 2017.
They ruined it. They did ruin it.
I think it was 2018.
2018, yeah. It's fucking
fuck
dumbasses.
Those guys.
Yeah, those guys suck.
Yeah.
So, I think
construction company. Fuck that guy. You want to build your house in London, Ontario? Can't leave the city.
Nope. Got to stay there. So I think this. I thought another. Oh my God, Charlie McAvoy is my hero right now. He is the best defender on that team.
Absolutely.
Now, I said defender, not defenseman. I mean, I could say he's the best defenseman on the team too, but even just in the league, like, he is one of the best defenders in the league, I think.
Yeah.
Just watching him play, like, there were some sequences of just watching. If you lock in on Charlie McAvoy and watch what he does in that game, he just absolutely. He was such a lockdown force, and yeah, he gave up that goal, like we said, but he seriously made up for that and played his heart out. I thought Austin Matthews and both Jack Hughes had a great defensive game. It may not have looked like they had a good game on the stat sheet, but that's what happens when you have a best on best team. Like, when you see in the Stanley Cup Finals, it's often not your star players. People always say, like, "Oh, where'd he go in the playoffs?" It's like, well, he has to play defense, and he's also playing against line one of. I mean, who'd the Panthers play this year? Oilers. So. Like, Barkov's playing against McDavid, like those guys kind of just get canceled out at that point. And it comes down to your depth. And who's got depth? The fucking USA. Canada does not. We have Dylan Larkin on our fourth line.
That's
third line,
nuts.
maybe. Dylan Larkin. He is a first line center on
fourth line center. He's a first line center and captain in the NHL, and he's the fourth line. JT Miller is on like the third line. He had 103 points last year.
Exactly.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And that's
nuts.
Yeah. And like any Stanley Cup run, anything like that, you have to have production from your depth players. And like, we're saying that Dylan Larkin and Jake Gensler are quote unquote depth players.
Yeah.
I think Gensler plays on the first line, but I mean, yeah, this team is just so deep, and I just don't think – I think that's what's going to hurt Canada, truthfully, unless they have a showing from McKinnon and Crosby. But you guys are going up against Austin Matthews, who's, I think, the best center in the game, who plays the position of center correctly.
Yes.
Behind maybe Sid. But
I'm gonna say this. This might be a hot take. I genuinely think Austin Matthews is the best two-way player in the NHL. You think about a guy who can score 70 goals.
Yeah.
Even though he's never scored 70 goals, 69 last year. But guy with the ability to put up 69 fucking goals in a single season.
Yeah.
And also would be on most teams' penalty kills.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And to have that guy as your first line center, second line center, even with I don't know if Jack Eichel's playing above him. It's been kind of weird.
No, they like flip flop. They're just kind of like thrown out to see who's matched up with who. But yeah,
it's just one of those things where it's like you have that guy on your team, and he's tasked with shutting down Connor McDavid. Yeah, he might not be like your number one point scorer because his main goal for the tournament is to make sure that Connor McDavid doesn't score on his line.
Yeah.
But then you take into account that Connor McDavid has 4 points in the tournament, right? He has 3 points in 2 games against every other team. He only has 1 against the U.S.
Yeah.
Right? And he, other than his one goal, he
was a non-factor.
He was a non-factor. Nathan McKinnon against the U.S. didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like it really, I didn't even notice him out there for most of the game.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sid. And that's kind of like there are players across the U.S. team that can kind of do that. You look at like Jack Eichel. He's going to do that mostly by controlling the puck. And I think he's somebody who really has gotten underrated in the last few years as to how good he is.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the injury, he played on Buffalo for the first half of his career. The injury, and then he plays on Vegas, which they play more of like a defense first, like team system game where it doesn't really allow a single player to shine. But you watch him play in this tournament, and every time he's on the ice, you notice.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things where it's like he looks like Connor McDavid, but on the US, where he's on the ice, he has the puck, you're like, holy shit, this guy's going to score a goal.
Yeah.
Or this guy's going to set something up, which I don't feel like in normal games you really notice Jack Eichel like that.
No.
Like this tournament is kind of maybe I just don't watch enough Vegas hockey.
Yeah. We can't in Idaho. We
can't watch it all in Idaho.
At NHL, yeah.
Although I can because I have YouTube TV now. But
do you have the Bay Area?
Access? It's I have access no matter what, but we have local channels, so I can watch we can watch Vegas.
Really?
We have MSNBC local or NBCSN local. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know that.
Vegas games.
That sucks. Yeah. Oh, well, that's cool.
Either way, it's just one of those things where it's like I've never noticed that before, and I'm watching the U.S. team play, and I notice Jack Eichel on the ice a lot more than I notice anybody else. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's nuts.
Yeah, no, he is, and like I think we were talking about like how kind of cool it is that we can watch some of these players that normally we can't. Like Charlie McAvoy is a great example. Like I've never truly been on his side and been able to watch him play defense or like really paid attention to him. I mean, I've known he's a great defender, but I just being able to watch him and like root for him, Jack Eichel the same way. Austin Matthews is a big one because I'm not a big fan of the Maple Leafs. I know you have a different opinion, but I am usually not rooting against him, but just not wanting the Leafs to succeed in my own biases. But I think this tournament's been fun to be able to like come together as a country and be like, this is awesome. Jack Eichel, I love you. Austin Matthews, I love you.
Yeah.
Noah Hannafin, I like shit like that.
I saw some comments on like on Instagram posts about specifically about Canada because they played the first few games of Montreal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were people commenting about this is the first time they've ever cheered for Brad Marchand ever.
Yeah.
Which I find that pretty
interesting.
Same thing. Like that's the first time he's ever gotten cheered for at the Bell Center. The same thing for a bunch of those guys. Like you just look down the list, and it's like there's players that play for different teams all around the place.
Yeah,
and they get Matthew Tkachuk, if he scores a goal in Boston on Thursday, guarantee he'll be getting cheered pretty goddamn loud.
Yeah,
and that's the
especially
first
time
after
all
ever happened.
Yeah,
especially after that first game.
Yeah, that first game and that second game, like him against Finland, but like we've got to touch on them. The Tkachuk brothers. Thank you, Keith Tkachuk's balls. Seriously, I wish you had another son, but like we got I don't know. I just those two together is so fun to watch. I mean, I've been a fan of Matt, and honestly, we've both been a fan of the Tkachuks. I think since we met them in Nashville.
Since Matthew slapped Scott's ass, that's
exactly.
Fan.
Shout
out Scott Young
again, and I mean those two have been always. They play just like their dad, Matthew, a little bit. Not more skill, but more finesse, I guess you could say. Brady's just like his dad.
Dude, Brady played like 4 minutes against Sweden, and I saw him body like 3 guys.
Yeah,
he played 4 total minutes. He said it was one shift. He sent 2 guys into the boards flying. It was hilarious.
I saw that. No, it's just stuff like that. Like this is the kind of hockey that we need. Matthew Tkachuk's a Stanley Cup champion. Like we know that, and Florida plays exactly like he does. we need that against Canada because they think it's all skill and finesse right now. But they don't really have a true basher on their team unless you want to count Drew Doughty's bum ass.
Drew Doughty thrown.
Exactly. You got thrown into the boards by Brady Tkachuk, which if you don't know any backstory on the Tkachuks and Drew Doughty, they hate each other. Really? At least Drew Doughty. Yeah. You not, I'll send you a video after, but there's just a compilation of Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty going at it to each other. And I think Drew Doughty said in an interview something like Matthew at the time was like 20, 21.
Oh, I remember that. It was.
And he said
when the Flames and the Kings had that huge rivalry. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Drew Doughty said something like he needs to show respect to players of my caliber, like I'm a Norris winner. And he's like, Matthew just said, like, I don't have to respect you. Like, you don't have any of my respect. Like,
I love Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's the kind of player that you need. And Martian used to be like that. I mean, he still kind of is, but
yeah,
you need that, like that grit. And of course, they start the game off with the fights and stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if another one goes off on Thursday. So yeah, I am
fuck you type of energy,
Yeah. Woke up Saturday just so excited for that game. I'm so glad we won because we would have had to defend ourselves pretty hard. But we live to see another day, and we're ready for it because I think Thursday it's gonna be another close game. I mean, I don't think the US is gonna blow them out by any means. I'd love to see that, but it's Team Canada. It's Team Canada at the end of the day. But you guys are not
best hockey nation in the world.
Exactly. They are the second best at hockey. We know this. And I think the NHL has seriously robbed us of watching the US. I mean, I was going to say like robbed us watching the US like climb up the international ladder, but behind the scenes, if you're watching the World Juniors, like that's already been happening. Yeah. They won this year, they won last year. So
Canada did win 3 in a row a few years back, but I believe it was like over the last, we looked at that, we talked about this. It was like over the last 15 years, the US has won more than.
Do you see all that stuff behind me?
Yeah.
That's all part of my past. All the stuff is behind me. I'm focused on you in the future. What's in front of me? This stuff is my past. This is all stuff from my past. That's like a little toy I got.
I think you're actually pointing something out. I was like,
no, it's just a metaphor. But this is, I mean, it truly is. Like everything behind me is part of my past. We're focused on the future, though, here at Hockey Team USA, USA Hockey. So, Hockey Canada, you got some competition coming your way. It's not your world anymore. You guys have been out of the loop, not out of the loop, but NHL just hasn't shown us, that we're the supreme leaders, and we're going to show you that on Thursday.
That you're the 51st state.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Correct.
So, we're gonna dedicate this show to Keith Tkachuk's balls.
Shout out Keith Tkachuk and his nuts.
Yeah,
that guy's
appreciate
awesome.
you. Yeah, I saw a tweet. Someone was like, the worst thing Keith Tkachuk did was not have more sons or something like that.
Dude, imagine Team USA
full line
23 Tkachuks.
Hey, I mean, the more they reproduce and like start to have offspring, we could.
They got a goalie who's beating the shit out of everyone every game.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
That would have been Binnington, but how he used to play. So
Jordan Binnington's the long lost Keith Tkachuk's son.
Yeah, no, he really is. But he's not good at hockey, so.
That's a good point. Well, he did make the NHL. He's better than me, but
he did play. He did win a Stanley Cup, but again, past. We're focused on the future.
Behind me, Drew Doughty, you're Norris. Behind me,
Canada, all your gold medals behind. This year, it was this year. USA won gold at World Juniors. We're going to win gold at the Four Nations. We're going to win gold at the Juniors again next year, and we're going to win gold at the Olympics, and then we're going to win gold at the World Cup of Hockey.
Since 2016, in international play with NHL players, the U.S. is 1-0 against Canada.
True. Also, Sid lost his first game as a Maple Leaf, or not a Maple Leaf, as a Team
No,
Canadian.
it was the first game since like 2010 because the U.S. beat Canada in that round robin, which is
Oh,
why I see
true.
a bunch of Canadians going, "Oh, Canada lost on purpose to break the U.S.'s heart." You think Canada wanted to set up to play the U.S. again? No.
You think that
Absolutely not.
you think that Team Canada lost in Canada against the U.S. to potentially miss the Four Nations gold, or whatever the fuck the tournament tally is? You think that they lost in Canada on purpose so they can go to U.S. to their home state now and go
back
and
to their
win?
home country?
Yeah, they're going to go back to their home. Yeah, Team USA in 2026 is going to be nasty.
Boston's going to be the new capital of Nova Scotia.
Dude, think about it. Team USA in 2026 is going to have McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk.
It'll be unbelievable.
Hughes. It's going to be nuts. I saw, I think it was PK Subban, such a dumbass for asking this question, but he asked Matthew Tkachuk if he would ever play for Team Canada.
I saw that.
Tkachuk was like, no. Like he just
American through and through.
Yeah, he's like, that is the stupidest question. Some of the comments, people were like, oh, he wouldn't even make the team anyways. Really? Over Travis Konechny or Sam Bennett?
Like, is quite literally Travis Konechny, but 10 times better.
Yeah.
They play the exact same game, just Matthew Tkachuk is significantly better.
Exactly. He almost had a between the legs goal. I thought I saw.
No, I saw that. That was nuts. Dude, those brothers, can we just take a second?
Yeah.
Keith Tkachuk's
this episode's
balls.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Keith Tkachuk's balls again. Shout out to that guy, right? The greatest thing he ever did for the game of hockey wasn't scoring 500 goals in the National Hockey League. It was having two sons, right?
Yes.
Because if only he had a third, right, that played center, and we could watch all three of them play together, that would be nuts. That'd be hilarious.
Crazy.
I don't think that line would stick together very long because they'd probably get in fights every single shift.
Yeah.
But it would be awesome.
I expect to see a fight in the first period. After that, though, I think there'll be one at puck drop again. But after that, they're going to be dialed in. We'll get rough and rowdy, but yeah. We'll see. Make sure you guys tune in. It's tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, if you're listening to this on Thursday, it's tonight. Tune in that TV. It's on ESPN, I believe, this time. So better watch the shit out of that because that game is going to be peak TV. If you thought Saturday was awesome, just wait.
Oh yeah,
because Thursday it's a rematch, and it's a rematch within 4 days. Usually we have to wait a year for a rematch, and this is 4 days later. So, super pumped.
That's gonna be a fun game.
It is. So
I have the entire day off. I'm gonna spend the entire day pre-gaming.
I'm down.
If I remember, if we remember this game, we did something wrong.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, we'll definitely we'll hang out. Maybe we'll go live on Instagram too. Do a little.
Hell yeah! Oh, dude, that'd be fun.
Yeah, at the bar, just
live stream the game.
A little fun. I thought about it, but I don't really want to sit in front of a camera for 3 hours.
That's
for
fair.
the game. Like, I want to bask. No offense to you viewers, but unless all you would tune in, I totally would. But if we're gonna get like two people, one being my mom and the other being Scott, I'm not gonna do that.
Scott will be there, but it'll be on. It'll be like, I'm bored of you guys. We'll be watching.
No, we can go live on our phone during intermission or something on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be fun. But yeah, everyone tune in. Keith Tkachuk's balls. Thank you so much. Everyone listening, thank you so much. Go follow us on Instagram because I've been doing some reactions after the game. Defend me in the comments if you're an American fan. If you're a Canadian fan, send some hate.
Hate on Sean.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been getting too much hate recently. Hate on this guy.
Yeah. No, I've gotten a good amount, but it's all deserved. I mean, I take some shots, but
I can't wait for next week's podcast when the US wins this tournament.
Same.
And I get to go back on this podcast and say, fuck you, 51st state. Go eat a wiener. I'm not going to say that on the internet, but yeah.
You just did. So
I was going to say something worse, but
that's fair. All right, guys.
We love you.
Thank you for listening.
Brothers, but we're going to beat you.
Yeah. We do. And yeah, all jokes aside, Canada, you're a great team. We're excited to play you on Thursday. But you're going down. Hockey's our sport now. We're going to put a tariff on hockey for you guys. So plus 500%. And see you in the next one. Oh, yeah.
Before we log off, we get to watch the greatest matchup in hockey 2 times in 1 week. And I think that's a blessing.
Dude, that is so true.
That being said, peace.
Peace, everyone.